Hello there, welcome to Reason versus Religion, where critical thinking challenges ancient beliefs.
Every time I'm asked this question, if you didn't believe in God, how would you know what was good and what wasn't? Every time I'm asked to speak on this, the daily news allows me to give a different answer and give a different example. Take the simplest case of what I believe is innate, our instinct for our children. You don't have to be a parent to have this. You see a child trying to rush into the traffic. If you're not a parent, something tells you what you probably ought to be doing about it. The care and love and protection of children is instinct in us, in fact in many other species too that don't claim to be divinely ordered around. It's something we all share without having to have it explained to us. We may say that that those who don't have it, the psychopaths who don't seem to have it, or who take delight in breaking this commandment or rule, we say that they're bestial, but again I refer you to the animal kingdom that doesn't allow such transgressions. Now, our whole culture is currently being convulsed, rightly I think, over an offence committed more than 3 decades ago against a young woman of 13, a girl of 13, by a famous man who was stupid enough to try and sue Vanity Fair and thus incurred my curse and displeasure. It's good that such an argument can go on for so long, I think, legally and morally, because it shows that individual rights are paramount too, just as it was right that France should convulse itself and suspend all other business until the question of Captain Alfred Dreyfus had been settled one way or another. It shows not just that justice is important, but that the individual is the only unit of currency in which this kind of thing can be discussed. Now, the very best I found you can say in Mr. Polanski's defense would be that there was some kind of sick complicity involved, that either the girl or her ambitious parents or the general context of permissiveness or something of the sort gave him the feeling that it was probably okay or not that bad to give her a muscle-relaxing drug as well as some booze. And then don't ask yourself why he wanted her muscles relaxed, please, because then you'll have to read the court transcript and you'll find out. And it's pretty horrifying. And I think people are quite right to be instinctively outraged, to think, no, if I can think of the worst thing I've ever done, you're already thinking of it. The thing about yourself you'd least like to have generally known? Complete silence. Very satisfying. Most of you, I imagine, are thinking, yeah, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. And no one needs to tell me why I wouldn't have either. So that's all I want to say about that. But I'm much more outraged currently by what happened not 3 decades ago, but 3 weeks ago to Miss Fawzia Youssef, a Yemeni girl who died in childbirth in a hospital in Yemen, hemorrhaging to death, trying to give birth to an already dead baby, the result of her having been married, compulsorily but legally, at the age of 11. That's what happened to Fawzia Youssef on our watch. She died in childbirth, trying to give birth to a dead baby. Husband 3 times her age, who was legally married to her. As it's estimated, 1/4 of the young womanhood of Yemen already is. Married at the very, very latest by the age of 15. And though there have been moves in the Yemeni parliament to raise the age at which a young lady may be betrothed, these moves have been blocked, even as recently as last September after this outrage, by a political party, which I will not tell you the name of this political party, but it is not the Yemeni Secular Party. In Iran, the age of consent doesn't come up, by the way, because there is no consent to any sex outside marriage in Islamic society. In any case, and many kinds of it are punishable by death. But the age at which a young girl may be married was moved up finally. The Islamic Revolution put it back to 9. I think it was moved up to 11, which you might say was progress of a kind. Now, you see, this isn't just backward countries we're talking about. And let's not beat about the bush. The Prophet Muhammad was betrothed to his favourite wife Aisha when she was 6. It wasn't thought fit that he could marry her then in the full sense of the term, but he put it off till she was 9. And across a vast swathe of the world, worse things than Roman Polanski has even thought of doing are done as a matter of law and of course and in the name of, no, not in the name of, but because of the preachings of God's anointed. And then the religious turn to you and you say, secularism must mean moral relativism. Your ethics are situational. And I say, well, let's just hear that again. Because given that I've taken the simplest moral baseline it's possible to take, the protection of defenseless children, isn't it true that all the leading religions of the world are Abrahamic? Yes, we love to stress it. We adore to say that we have all this wonderful multicultural thing in common. And what was Abraham most famous for, apart from having a wife who had a baby when she was 101, which is an advance over dying in childbirth when you're 11, having been raped, probably by a close male relative, if you really want the truth. Apart from that, Abraham's most famous for saying, if God wants me to kill my boy, of course I will. And the only difference between the monotheisms is that some say it was Isaac and some say it was Ishmael. I don't particularly care. But there are annual festivities on the part of the faithful to say, we wish we too were capable of such faith. And we want to beat our breasts in sympathy with those who are. Why do the Jewish people blow the ram's horn? The shofar? Because the shofar symbolizes the ram who is sacrificed instead. The blood sacrifice is the main thing, and there has to be a child involved. This seems to me to be disgraceful, and what's taken for granted that goes with it, because it was practiced on Isaac too in the form of a covenant and imitated by others, the genital mutilation of the young, to seal the pact with God, to say nothing matters to me. Not the life or health or bodily integrity of my child. Never mind that. What has to be proved is, without God I am nothing. I'll kill for it. And I'm not just willing to say that. I'm willing to prove it. And I'm willing to use my children's bodies as the theatre of this enactment of faith. Well, civilization, in my submission, ladies and gentlemen, begins where that evil nonsense leaves off. And we have to advance the time when more and more people will be able to civilize themselves by outgrowing religion and leaving this awful nonsense behind.